Picture a single soccer ball. Nothing special about it. Just leather, air, and a few stitches holding it together. But once every 4 years, that simple ball becomes the center of the whole world. Streets go quiet, classrooms pause, families crowd around televisions. More than 5 billion people watch at least part of it. It's called the FIFA World Cup. Today, it's the biggest sporting event on Earth. But it wasn't always that way. Almost 100 years ago, the World Cup didn't even exist. So, how did one soccer tournament bring the entire planet together? Let's find out. Back then, soccer was already one of the fastest growing games in the world. It started in England, then it spread across Europe, then South America. Soon, almost every country had teams and fans. Clubs played against other clubs. Sometimes whole countries played friendly matches against each other. Soccer was even part of the Olympic Games. But there was a problem. The Olympics only allowed amateur players, people who didn't get paid to play. Many of the best soccer players in the world weren't allowed to compete there at all. So there was no real tournament that could crown the best soccer nation on the planet. Something was missing. Who was going to fix that? A French official named Jules Rimet thought soccer deserved something bigger. Not clubs competing against clubs, countries competing against countries. Not just amateur players, the very best players in the world, wearing their national colors. It sounded exciting, but there was one huge challenge standing in the way. This was 1930. Airplanes barely existed for regular travel. Ships were the only real option. A trip across the ocean could take 2 full weeks, one way. Many people doubted any country would agree to send a team that far. Would anyone actually show up? 13 countries said yes. Some teams spent weeks at sea just to reach the tournament. Imagine that kind of commitment for a game that had never been tried this way before. The host country was Uruguay, and there was good reason for that. Uruguay was one of the strongest soccer nations on the planet at the time. They had already won 2 Olympic gold medals in the sport. It also happened to be exactly 100 years since Uruguay's independence, so hosting felt like the perfect way to celebrate it. To make it official, Uruguay built a brand new stadium called Estadio Centenario. It became one of the very first great cathedrals of soccer. And when the host nation lifted that first trophy in front of nearly 100,000 fans, something shifted. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was becoming a story that countries wanted to tell about themselves. Just as the World Cup was starting to grow, the whole world changed. World War II spread across Europe and beyond. Countries were fighting for survival. Millions of people went off to war. There was no World Cup in 1942. There was no World Cup in 1946 either. Soccer simply had to wait. Sometimes even the biggest celebrations in the world have to pause for something bigger. When the World Cup finally came back, another revolution had already begun. Television. Suddenly, people didn't have to wait for tomorrow's newspaper to find out what happened. They could watch the match happen live, right there in their own living room. By 1970, millions of families watched Pelé and Brazil play in color for the very first time. Later came satellites, then cable television, then the internet. Every new invention brought millions of new fans into the game. Have you ever wondered how something so simple, just a ball and 2 goals, could reach every corner of the planet? Television is a big part of the answer. Some moments from the World Cup are so unforgettable that people still talk about them decades later. In 1950, Brazil was expected to win easily on their home turf. Instead, Uruguay shocked the entire country in the final match, and the stadium fell into a silence so complete it became known forever as the Maracanazo. In 1970, Pelé led Brazil to one of the most dazzling championships anyone had ever seen. In 1986, Diego Maradona carried Argentina to the title almost single-handedly, scoring goals that people are still arguing about today. In 2010, Spain won its very first World Cup with a style of passing so smooth it looked almost like magic. And in 2022, Lionel Messi finally lifted the one trophy that had eluded him his entire career, in a final so dramatic that fans still get goosebumps replaying it. Every one of these moments became a story, passed down from parents to kids, generation after generation. But why does a game make people feel this much? Why do fans cheer so loudly or even cry over a match between two teams? For many people, the World Cup isn't just about soccer. It's about home. It's about family. It's about memories that last a lifetime. When your country wins, millions of strangers celebrate together, as if they all knew each other. When your country loses, millions of strangers feel that same disappointment together too. Somehow, this one game connects people who will never even meet. And the tournament keeps growing. It started with just 13 teams in 1930, then 16, then 24, then 32. Soon it will include 48 teams, giving even more countries a chance to compete on the world's biggest stage. Every 4 years, the map of nations gets a little bigger, and the celebration gets a little louder. Here are a few facts that might surprise you. Brazil has won the World Cup more times than any other country, 5 championships in total. That very first tournament in 1930 had only 13 teams. But today, more than 200 countries try to qualify for a single World Cup. The trophy itself is solid gold, 18 carats, and it weighs more than most people would guess. And here's something interesting. The champions don't actually get to keep that original trophy forever. It travels back to FIFA after every tournament, waiting for the next champion to lift it high. Think about what all of this really means. Somewhere right now, a kid is kicking a soccer ball across a dusty playground, or a backyard, or an empty street. They don't need fancy equipment. They don't need a perfect field. All they need is a ball, a few friends, and a big dream. Nearly 100 years after that very first World Cup, the same simple game still brings billions of people together. Different languages, different cultures, different countries. One tournament, one trophy. 1 month every 4 years when the entire world watches together. It all started with one simple idea, that every nation deserved a chance to compete. And somehow that one idea turned into the biggest, loudest, most unforgettable celebration on the entire planet.